All right, there we go. Steelstar, can you hear me okay?
And can you hear me?
It is a little bit scratched out, but that's okay. I'm sure it's probably just a blip in the radar. So
All
you
right.
should still be good. So
Okay.
where does the 13th anniversary of DDO find Steelstar?
One moment. Sorry, just adjusting audio settings so I can hear you better.
Okay, I'm just basically asking where does today find you? What are you working on? What are you doing?
Oh, I am working on the Inquisitive that is currently previewable on Lamania.
All right, and we talked a little bit about that with Sev, but really we're looking at kind of double crossbow, pew 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 action, all that sort of thing. Is it tricky to kind of have one item apply to both hands like that?
You're coming through a little bit scratchy on my end.
Yeah.
Would you mind repeating the question one more time?
Sure, no problem. I was just wondering if it was a particular challenge to take a double crossbow animation or double crossbow effect out of a singular weapon, like how it is done.
Oh, yes. That was a pretty challenging thing on our end. Our internal system kind of regards, one physical item as displaying one physical item, and so we had some challenges in getting around that to display two crossbows, and they're actually the same crossbow as the base item. Our art team created smaller versions of each of the light and heavy non-crossbows for this purpose specific. So they're actually like nice little hand quests of all of these.
Nice. All right, so we are going to run. Oh, sorry. I just reset just in case that might help with our connection issue. We are going to run Grim and Barrett. And we've got a group with us here of some players here as well, hanging out with us. Hello, everyone, in-game chat. We're going to run Grim and Barrett, and since we do have a full group here, we could certainly run it on Elite. I'm not going to make you do the main frontline tanking Steel because I know you're kind of on a quick roll character, as it were.
Yes.
Yeah. You know, it may actually end up being that due to bandwidth concerns, I'm going to have to drop one of our social networks here sometime today. But until that happens, let's give it a shot. So, yeah. Reaper 12, yeah. Jerry tanking, what can go wrong? Oh, nothing. I'm actually not so much a tank as just kind of a zerging DPSer. This is not a super great character, although it's not terrible. It's on a second life. First life was a cleric. This life is a barbarian. I really just wanted a barbarian for a particular group that I had going here. And this particular barbarian takes full advantage of Ravager at the moment, and I'm working my way up through Frenzied Berserker. And actually, I've got 5 points to spend. Permadeath conditions on the live stream, right? Is the 20% Reaper XP active now? It is, as a matter of fact.
Now Draco stands before you. Too late, mortals. The planar orb is already mine. I'll leave my minions to deal with you.
Someone from chat, based on a brief conversation I had with Sev a little bit earlier, was he had sort of talked how we're doing Keep on the Borderlands, and we had mentioned we were looking at Isle of Dread, and that's going to be happening after Keep here. Do you have any personal experience with either Keep or Isle of Dread as a tabletop game?
On my end,
Yeah.
not particularly. My tabletop ventures have tended to be more in Eberron than anywhere else. And the original versions of those, I've done some reading on them, but I have not actually gotten the chance to play them personally.
Sure. So the way it worked for me is my twin brother ended up with both Keep on the Borderlands and Isle of Dread. For whatever reason, when you're a twin, you're not a twin, right?
Oh, I am. Yeah.
Yeah, you are a twin. Okay,
Yeah.
I thought so. So you well know that, when you're younger at the same age, you don't get two of everything. You just have to share the one thing all the time.
Yeah.
And so you end up having to be like, all right, so you get the player's handbook, and I get the Dungeon Master's Guide, and then you get this setting, and I get this setting. And for whatever reason, my twin brother ended up with both Keep and Isle of Dread. So I played them as a player back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Because he was the DM, because it was his book, so to speak.
Right.
Yeah. And I remember, I don't know if this is actually true, but in my mind it is accurate, which is that Isle of Dread, I believe, is one of the first D&D maps to use hexes.
Really?
I think. So it was way early on in the game. Maybe that's not true. I can't remember. I'm sure someone hopefully will be able to correct me on that if I'm incorrect.
The door slides open, revealing a fierce half-orc woman standing between you and the small animals that appear to live in this room. Dracoth begins to quietly speak to the...
Yeah, I think Grey Wolf is agreeing with me. I think that's true. Just because of the age. All the others prior had been largely dungeon crawls. And of course, for those who, this has changed, of course, throughout the history of D&D, but back in the first edition, Keep on the Borderlands came with the basic set, and Isle of Dread came with the expert box set.
I can open any of the sealed gatekeeper doors you might encounter.
At least some versions of it.
Ask, and I will come.
I don't know I can't remember if Isle of Dread came with every version of the expert box, or just the one I had, the blue one, but...
So a lot of my personal experience started with 3.5, and I've played little bits of earlier editions than that, and of course done a lot of reading in various materials of editions earlier than that, but I haven't got to play a lot of those really, really early class.
I remember they were purchased on the basic set was purchased on Black Friday of 19... I guess it would have been 83, 82? Whatever that was. I was
a little bit
kid,
before time.
and I remember that because mostly me and my twin brother got to pick out a present at a Toys R Us on Black Friday, which I don't know if you recall those heady days of being a child, but when your parents say, let's go on Black Friday basically to buy you a relatively expensive Christmas gift that you get to choose from everything in the store, it was quite the day. And I seem to recall at the time there was a South Bend, Indiana television station that interviewed my brother and I about what we got on Black Friday. And we were holding up the red box.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
He smiles and says,
Thank you for helping me and my brethren.
Two expert sets, one with the books having holes for binders, one set without. Yep, that's correct. Isle of Dread made for the original D&D, so that does put it even before the more commercial box sets and all that sort of thing. I need to clearly read up on my history of it. But yeah. Oh, okay. So Keep was with the basic D&D. Dread was the first AD&D with the Wilderness. Yeah. Okay. So it was when we transferred to Advanced Dungeons & Dragons. When we all advanced, it advanced with us to the world of hexes. Squares could not contain our gaming power anymore.
as you enter
All right, so what do you expect to see happen with the Inquisitive tree and some of the other kind of systemsy sorts of things you're working on between now and Shard?
So, kind of looking at the big three we're previewing in this Lamania, Inquisitive, Tiefling, and Tiefling Scoundrel. What I'm really just hoping is it opens up a lot of interesting builds for people. Tiefling is a very cool race, but a kind of straightforward race in a couple ways. It does, if you're familiar with them in Tabletop, kind of what you expect them to. Make good spellcasters as well as any charisma-based class in general. The Scoundrel iconic, we wanted to do something a little bit different, sort of like we did ASMR Skirt. The immediate thing that came to mind when we were Sorcerer. But we already knew the base Tiefling race was going to make fairly good sorcerers, and we didn't want to just make the iconic a better version of what the class. So we kind of came around to the notion of a Tiefling Scoundrel, a bard Tiefling that plays the fiddle.
So I have not yet seen a Tiefling playing a fiddle, the iconic playing the fiddle, personally. Have you had an opportunity to see it yet? What kind of, how does it work?
So it works the same way right now that your bard songs do. When the iconic does something that would play the bardic music animations, where you pull out the lyre, play a few notes, put it back. It instead pulls out a fiddle and plays it on that instead. And our hope right now, which we're still kind of working on, is going to be able to do fiddle animations for spellcasting on that iconic also, which would be really neat and a little bit different.
Now, do you know? I know that we have some crossover, so I expect this to kind of come up. But since you have better knowledge of how these things work than I do, how much of this is able to be sort of borrowed from our other game, Lord of the Rings Online? Because they got fiddles with
right. So
whatever that was.
Some of that comes in know-how. Things like how do we animate a fiddle, like what does that actually look like? We can kind of look at Lotro and how he did it, and then consider, do we want to do this in a very similar way because it's a basic kind of action where it would look similar, or do we want it to have its own flair? There's
so
a lot of it
it's
is
not, as they might
and,
say, as someone might say, it's not a copy paste, as it were.
No.
Yeah.
They're very different things in a lot of ways, but the know-how and the conceptual basis helps out a lot. It's easier to do something you've done it before, right?
Since you are, is everyone flagged? Can everyone do Prison of the Plains? And I know, Steel, you are on a plus character, so you should be able to join us. Right?
Yeah, I cheat my way in.
Yep. We have room. We dropped someone, so we have room for one more here as we're getting ready to do Prison of the Plains. I thought this might be kind of a fun throwback, and also just kind of a fun, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, popcorn thing?
Yeah. It's a good dungeon. It's got a lot of variety. But coming back to the earlier question, getting around to Inquisitive. Inquisitive as a universal, kind of hoping opens up a lot of builds for a lot of different classes. Just in theory crafting we've done so far in terms of builds that can make you this tree, like at least 10 or so of DO's classes have a viable path to use Inquisitive to build that you can't really play right now. And so there's just a lot of cool opportunities to play something very, a crossbow fighter, a crossbow bard, a crossbow favored soul.
Yeah.
So there's just a lot of very new and different ways to play, as we're hoping that tree brings to the game.
Nice. Okay, so question, some feedback from Lamania. Any chance of this person would like to see the element of Scoundrel Chiefling change from Sonic Fire to Sonic Lightning or Pure Sonic to better fit the Bard? Is that something you've considered or might be open to?
So we played around with a couple versions that had more sonic than fire, but we really kind of wanted to keep the hang on a second. The infernal nature of tieflings in here, who very chiefly throughout tabletop are associated with fire. Not 100% of the time, but very, very frequently, tieflings have some kind of fire or fire edge in their racial abilities, and that's something we wanted to keep with the scoundrel as well, adding Sonic to kind of reflect the bard nature.
Neat, neat. All right, let's see if I've got any other kind of questions here that might work out. So the fiddle is going to have a different sound. I just assume that that's not.
Yes,
in-game.
It's not in Lamania yet.
Yeah. You can't answer this question. Can we see halflings riding dinosaurs?
I can't answer that question.
No. Yeah.
As much as I'd like to, I cannot.
Yes, exactly right. We've seen some things. We've seen some things. All right, let's see. What else do we got going on? I'm just kind of checking chat, make sure it's all good. All right, let's head over to Giant Hold and pop into Prison of the Plains. All right, so you are... what would you say that you are largely, quote, doing for Ravenloft? Or not Ravenloft, but Masterminds of Sharn here.
My primary things are what you're seeing in the current Lamania. It's Tiefling Scoundrel, and Inquisitive. And once those are kind of up and about, I'm going to be helping out on other systems features, like itemization.
Which, from what I understand, is pretty robust, shall we say. Similar maybe a little bit to almost... How's it compared to Ravenloft? Can we say that?
It ought to be roughly parallel. It's not going to be the exact same number of items in the exact same places. But I believe the overall scope of the optimization for this expansion is pretty similar to Ravenloft.
Yep.
Which is a lot. It's the most we've put out. And Ravenloft was the most we had put out in the update to that point. Just beating out one of the Orchard ups by a little bit.
Nice. Alright, so the anniversary event came out this week. And as part of it, they fight a plus Steelstar, who is an artificer. If you had, let's say, unlimited time to just sort of do nothing but work on the anniversary event simply on your own whims, what do you think you might do to the Steelstar fight?
All right, so I would probably make 2 or 3 versions of the fight so that it was a little different each time you're in there. And I would probably do a couple variations on things that artificers can do. Like you might go in and suddenly find that he's a whole bunch of flaming turret about that he's kind of putting where he wants. I would love to get him up and running with Inquisitive dual crossbows sometime. That would be a lot of work, but a lot of fun. Yeah. I would just kind of go wild with how many different ways can we make a crossbow fight with a Warforged Artificer feel different and kind of artificery.
Nice. Yeah, I don't really have really much particular control over the Cordovan fight. I gave some kind of early feedback, and that's really kind of been the purview of the team to sort of do what people want to do with it. I'm not sure what I would do exactly. I'm pretty happy with the Cordovan fight overall. I would probably make it more jokey, and that's about it. I'd probably try to see if I can cram a few more jokes in there. Yeah. Do all devs appear with a plus before their name in-game? No. The way this is working is it's a specific admin character that you're logged into. Admin characters have some abilities that non-admin characters do not. But when you're playing on your, quote, regular play character, it is not a plus admin character. That is official business only, as it were.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is a character I put together specifically for...
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about what some of your current characters you are playing are, without sort of giving away names or locations or anything like that?
Sure. I've got two primary characters I've been playing recently, which is a Warforged Renegade Massacre. Kind of playing around with a couple different versions of that, but very heavily defensive, kind of minor on melee, but it's a very good support character. Kind of hard to play, though, but in a group it holds up really well and keeps people alive and throws out a lot of buffs and stays alive.
Nice.
The other one I've been playing a bunch is used to be a Monk Soul Fighter hybrid, and now it's just Monk Fighter because it's getting Wisdom to hit and damage out of Falconer. And it's ASMR Scourge using heavy maces while centered.
Oh wow!
So it's tier 5.
So I have not played. I have not swung a heavy mace since probably 2007. I have to admit.
Yeah. So the ASMR Scourge gets a bunch of bonuses while dual wielding heavy maces, and so the build has 6 levels of fire. So you can go up Kensei and the tier 5 that lets you be centered with the elected Kensei weapons. So in this case, heavy maces, and then the rest is in Monk. So centered and throwing around big ol' heavy maces. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I like it a lot. It does quite a bit of damage. Pretty survivable, dodge defenses, but with healing hands, it's able to self-heal when it needs to. Yeah, it's a build a lot.
Demetrius over on Twitch. If you buy DDO points from the DDO market, do you get double bonus points? No. The double bonus points sale is happening in the DDO store in-game as of this afternoon, but not the DDO market. So you'll want to go to the DDO store in-game. Here's a tech question you may be able to answer from a Headshot over on Twitch. Can we get the ability to have multiple stacks of the same item in a bag?
Ooh. From the way that bags handle things, probably not. The way that our bag is up would make that difficult, but maybe not impossible. Hard to say for sure without actually diving into it.
When will DDO points from yesterday's live stream be given out, Wanatuck? As soon as I have time. Let's say tomorrow morning. I was trying to get it done yesterday, and then I just got busy, and there you go. So, sorry. Are the horns of the tieflings final as seen on Lamania? No. Absolutely not, as a matter of fact. I'm pretty sure that is very much so in process.
Yeah, with the appearance of tieflings in general, we are still making tweaks, making additions where we can. On the other hand, we have certain restrictions we have to work within in terms of what we can and cannot use. So some may come, some may go, some may change.
Yeah, it's in an early state. I mean, we're not. This isn't the final version of ASMR on any level, really, in Lamania. Neither or tiefling. I always do that.
They're similar things. They're like two sides of the coin,
They've got some kind of double... No, actually, tiefling doesn't, so I don't even have that excuse. I don't know what my problem is, but I get the two confused all the time. Nonetheless, tiefling is very much in an early state in Lamania, and will be changed both visually and mechanically, most likely.
I mean, we're still taking feedback. If anybody gets the chance to write up their thoughts on tiefling, scoundrel, and inquisitive enhancements, we'd love to hear that, and we're going to be making, kind of mechanical tweaks as we approach release date.
Nice. So, I'm trying to remember. Do you remember when you first started working on DDO?
Yeah, I started working on DDO as a QA tester in late summer of 2010, so coming up on 9 years ago, which is kind of scary now that I'm saying it out loud. Yeah, we were working on update 6. Some of the earliest stuff that I QA tested was half-forks, half-elves, the Maybar event, in its original form. A few things like that. It was really cool.
Nice. And when was that again? You said 2010, but what month?
August.
Okay, so you beat me by just a few months.
Yeah, just by a little bit.
Yeah. Nice. So, what was I gonna ask you? Let me try to get it back up in my head here. So one of the things that I received a few private messages about in recent months is from some people who perhaps are looking toward college and career options and things like that and want to get into gaming. And clearly being able to work on, say, races, classes, items, balance, things like that is pretty attractive to a lot of folks. What kind of skill set is necessary to have a sort of systems implementation and design job like you have?
So there's a couple pieces to that. I usually describe game design as being an actual jack of all trades, but you kind of got to be, above average at everything. There's writing involved and being able to effectively communicate ideas both out loud and on paper. There's a lot of weird math involved where everything is variables but still has to mathematically work. There's logic where you need to understand, a lot of very complicated if-then things, general programming skills. It's a little bit to a lot of just so many different things.
Like C++, JavaScript, that kind of thing?
Some of that. It depends on what exactly role you're filling and the kind of project you want to be working on. I can't go into all the exact specifics of how DDo's interactions go, but general scripting knowledge is pretty transferable, and C++ is always useful, kind of no matter what you're working on in a games.
Do you need to go to a game school?
I would, that is up to the person in question. I did. I graduated from Champlain College in their game design program not long before I started here. It was a really good program that I got a lot out of. Personally, it set me up in a lot of really good ways with, a good understanding of not just the technical knowledge, but what makes good game design, compelling design. I wouldn't say that's going to be like getting a very specific games education is necessary for everybody, but I found it very, very useful. There's probably other people that would as well.
Nice. I'm clearly the wrong person to be going in here, being as I'm neutral good. I think I just screwed us, didn't I? Yeah.
I am neutral good.
I didn't even look at my alignment. I just assumed I was good. Alright, someone else is going to have to do it.
I've been playing dual posts so much lately that I keep forgetting I'm not one of them right here.
I know. Here's a difficult systems question, and I know...
Sure.
What in the world do you think we might ever do with the TR cache?
Well, that's a complicated one. Not the world's most elegant system. Accomplishes a very specific purpose. If we could figure out, if we take the time necessary to work figuring out a more elegant solution that is both player-friendly, developer-friendly, and accomplishes everything it needs, that could take a number of forms. Part of the problem is just trying to make those three goals meet, which I realize is not like a full answer to that question. But yeah, it's a complicated one, which is part of why it hasn't changed in so long.
Yeah. Is it, quote, I mean, I assume the answer is no, but just to kind of say it, is it, quote, easy to add a search function to the TR cache?
Not really. Search is not the most complicated thing programming, but it's not super simple either, especially in the kind of architecture we have and with the way that TR cache actually handles items. It's possible. Perhaps not the right person to act on it.
Yeah. Hey, Genova, you can do it, Wargarble. Just do the lawful good questions and it'll be fine.
Yeah.
Here we go.
As the portal to the plane of dawn.
Hey, you can look it up if you want to, but I myself have actually largely been able to just sort of fake my way through this section for a while now.
I remember there was a bug for a while with this particular room where it could end in a state where it tried to skip to the next question, like 1 out of 12 times. And so if you rolled a 12 on that d12 often enough, it would start infinite looping and crash the server. Because 1 out of 12 times it would go skip to the next question, which had a 1 out of 12 chance of to the next question, which had a 1 out of 12 chance of skipping to the next question. And it's happened enough times in a row, you would just... Yeah, everything would just come apart.
So this one's from YouTube. How could someone tell if their account is active if they have not played in a while? One way you could do that without logging in to the game, if you don't want to do that, is you can go to myaccount.standingstonegames.com and you should be able to log in with your game account credentials there. And that should get you all the information that you need to know about kind of getting the status of your account. Okay. Here we go. I'm trying to do something different on Facebook here so I can actually look at chat. All right. Sorry about that. You were in the first... Jimmy over on Facebook was in the first group to complete Prison of the Plains on Epic when it dropped. Very cool.
Oh, nice.
Very nice.
I didn't work on anything in Epic Child. Making Epic Crystal Cove at the time, I believe. Because Crystal Cove didn't have a version beyond level 20 at the time. So I was setting all that up.
Nice. I'm moving on. That hat. I know, I love the top hat on Zentradi. It's so good. Yeah.
Here, oh, I can't break his
All
DR.
right. So we're not going to provide a drop rate percentage, but just how low would you say the Jack Jibber's blade actually is?
Oh, it's pretty low. There's definitely things in DDO that are lower. Compounding tables has a pretty intense effect on where things drop, or in how often things drop, rather. But it's pretty low, which was intentional. We wanted that to kind of be a very sought-after get item.
Yeah, and it is a balanced item. What would you think to ever making something like that again? Would you do it?
It's one of those items that is definitely proven to be more ubiquitous and more powerful than I would like. On the other hand, it's obviously something that's valuable to a lot of players. It would be plausible that we could do something like that again, but I might make the circumstances by which it's obtained fairly different.
Yeah. Alright, what other kind of questions would be good? Let's see. You took our Jibbers. Nice. Any chance of bringing back the 10th anniversary reward? You missed the quiver. When we make it to 20, perhaps we can talk again. We'll see. We'll see. Maybe in 20 I can convince the team to do it again. Not that I was the one doing all the convincing. I'm just saying. Maybe for the 20th. The 10th anniversary reward was a specifically biggie, kind of.
Yeah.
As the portal connecting the maternal plane to the manga
All right, let me do a little bit of Q&A here then with the community. Let's see if we've got some more kind of questions we can ask Steelstar while we've got them in here before I let you get back to work on Sharn-related things, because, like I said, this anniversary is happening, and I know the team is busy. The number of sort of work days before we release Sharn is pretty much equal to the amount of work that needs to be done for Sharn, so...
Yeah. But, we're moving along at a pretty good pace.
Yeah.
The symbol of Maybar.
We're old pros at this point.
The dim light within has a dark, foreboding air.
I can't really talk about, like, whether there'll be new monsters and things like that in Sharn. I can't really get into detail about Sharn yet, sorry. Yeah. Will there ever be an iconic completionist?
Ooh.
That's
It's something we've talked about time to time. Haven't gone forward with it yet, but we could someday.
Yeah, I could see that happening. Anything to say about trap making crafting? That's something that, maybe is not super widely used, but it does have its fans and has kind of been left to sit for a little while. Any thoughts about being able to carve out some time for trap making?
Potentially. I wouldn't say it's, on our radar at the moment, but, like a lot of other systems, it could definitely use some love. Potentially.
Will we ever see 4 spells above level 5? Fire the Dragon Leader wants to know.
Force spells above 5?
Yeah. Actually, doesn't Tactical Detonation count for that, or is that not Force?
I believe it is Fire and Bludgeon. But it's augmented by, I believe, Force spell power. But it's technically Bludgeon.
Okay.
Another one plausible to look at the situation, why we're adding those spells, like we've said in a couple other places. Force is a particularly potent kind of spell power. It's not reduced by MRR like a lot of other spell types are. But it does have some other forces, or some other of resistance. So it's a little bit more of a delicate balance than a lot of other spell types.
It's a tough question or tough kind of opinion to give, but I like the idea of it. Grumpy Cuss wants to know, says, you've done a lot of good work over the years, but can you point to any specific quests or systems that you are exceptionally proud of?
Exceptionally proud of?
Or just feel it kind of worked out exactly how you want it, maybe.
Renegade Mastermaker, I think landed the way I wanted to. It ended up being a very set defense without being a tank tree. In a similar note, Beacon of Hope that I did around this time provided a very different kind of healing, which is definitely what I was aiming for. So those two in particular, I was very, very happy with how they came out.
Nice. Can we ever have an integrated Tangle route where we don't have to keep going back outside? Probably not very easily, I would imagine.
Not
unless
really
you just had all internal doors, right?
It would be in order of reconstructing a lot of that from scratch.
Yeah. And yes, for the questions, the dual crossbow animations and all that stuff is in an early state in Lamania. It will be getting more work done on it.
So. We kind of enough to get it playable and visually, conceptually there, but a lot of it's still being worked on. We know a lot of it's kind of a state that needs polish, and we're working on it.
Speaking of force damage, any chance of perhaps taking a look at Arcane Bolt or Arcane Blast to get their damage updated to keep up with Spell and Sort SLA buffs?
We have said before that one of the trees still on our hit list is Archmage. So we'd like to take a look at that at some point.
Yep. No, I don't see us doing I have not seen us do any real conversations about a reward for triple completionist in particular. Completionist is really the one that we focus on for those who really want to do that level of work. It's a fairly small crowd, and I'm not sure that I really see us doing a triple completionist feat anytime soon.
Probably not. Anytime in the near future, anyway.
Receptor. Almost imperceptibly, a fragment of Dale core, the plane of dream, fades into the room.
A lot of not too surprising, I guess, but a lot of kind of fishing questions. I call it fishing questions, as in can we ever have, or something like that. You know, it's a little bit challenging sometimes to answer those, because unless they're ready, they're not.
Right.
But what about the seal shard scroll system? That's something that comes up periodically. I know we haven't said it really any plans to adjust it, but I know, for example, I believe both Quentin and you, I've heard, talk a little bit about what perhaps we could do there.
Yeah.
Is that something you see we could do? Yeah.
We have thought on how we would want to handle that. The question is just exactly for what purpose, when, and what. So it's something that if we've got the right opportunity and the right time and the right idea, it's very possible. Boy, I wish I had taken the ASMR enhancement and gave Ghost Touch.
I know, right? Yeah.
I threw everything Tempest, and oh hey, Lucha and Orb.
Nice. Yeah, I've been picking up some of those too. I actually saw someone picked up the Royal Scimitar from this quest as well, and that's pretty cool. All right, anyone? A couple more seconds before I finish out the quest. So Warcane wants to bring up Tangleroot again, and that we shut it off for Reaper difficulty. And there's been some discussion in the community since we did that, that perhaps it actually would be eligible for Reaper. Do you know if that is true?
Sorry, which
Tangleroot in particular. Remember, we did not offer Tangleroot in Reaper difficulty early on, out of kind of a concern, I believe, over farming and things like that. But perhaps in actual practice, we could perhaps loosen that up in the future.
Possibly. It's one you need to sit down, evaluate why we locked it out in the first place, and if we need to make any modifications to it to alleviate that.
Yeah.
Again, plausible. Future's a wide space. That's always kind of the bottom line with questions of can we ever get.
Yeah. All these "can we ever gets" are a little challenging, but there we go.
Things are plausible. The question is just when does it make sense to do? Does it make sense to do in the grander scheme of things? And finding the time and the.
Yep. All right. I think I'm going to let you go then. Will probably any kind of final thoughts or anything you want to mention? Happy anniversary or something like that?
Yeah, no, I'm just really excited that we're still able to make great content and cool systems in Dungeons and Dragons now 13 years running, and really looking forward to what's coming up in the near future.
Sweet.
Happy anniversary.
All right. I'm going to be leaving then Argo here and saying goodbye to Steelstar. I'm going to take probably about a 5-minute stretch break and that sort of thing, and I'll be back doing some giveaways both in-game and on Twitch. Thank you very much for watching the 13th anniversary live stream. We'll be back in a few minutes, and thanks very much for stopping by.